Good morning, everyone, on this very rainy day, and apologies to all the small people in the city for the rainy. Hopefully the weather will clear by the time kids have their Halloween celebrations. And I'm going to ask the first big burning question of the day. I'm going as a banana tonight with my family, so it's part of the theme. So thank you very much, Mary, for that. Yeah, so the mayor might be out there in a banana suit for real tonight. So just to get that out of the way. So I want to always start with appreciations, and I want to also start with giving some context of today's press conference and the larger work on finances that has been underway here in the city for the last 19 months of my first portion of this term as mayor. This includes the work we've done, the critical work that my team in our administration has done on our finances, but also in close partnership with many partners in our community, including members of my budget advisors who I have convened twice, first with fiscal year 25's structural budget challenge, and then again for fiscal year 26's structural budget challenges. We also engage a whole host of folks with our tax fairness working group who have met over the last 6 months to start exploring deeper tax policy questions that we should be considering as a city as we continue to work towards a more affordable Burlington. I want to acknowledge some of those folks. A couple are in the room here this morning with us. First, always to our hardworking city staff and our department heads who work very closely on budgets pretty much all year round. You'll hear more in a moment from our CEO, Catherine Schad, but she's behind me, who really spearheads this work really tirelessly 365 days a year, I swear, is all we do, and you even think about the budget more than I do. But also all of the finance team within the Department of Finance and Administration. They've worked diligently on making sure that we continue to tighten our practices and dig deep on solutions to continue to work on making a clearer and more transparent budget. I also want to thank all the department heads. There's some of them in the room today, so thank you for all the work you do on making sure your departments are also being part of the team to provide balanced budgets and thinking about the stewardship of city funds and how important that is. I want to thank the members of my tax fairness working group, and I really want to particularly make sure that, where did my notes of my, of course, that's the piece of paper I slipped away. Anyway, Pacific is here, and I really appreciate your work and making sure that you are a member of this big team, as well as former Mayor Peter Clavell, of course, who was one of my budget advisors, so I appreciate your diligence and your counsel always as a former mayor of this beautiful city. I also want to acknowledge there's a couple city councilors. I saw Councilor Schechter in the back. I think City Council President Ben Travers might be on his way as well. Did he slip in? Oh, yeah. Oh, well, no, of course, Councilor Grant. I was like, is he coming through the window? Wow, Ben Travers is really in it. He's climbing through the window. He's so dedicated to hearing what we have to say today. But thank you to all three of you for being here today at this important and good news press conference. So to the good news, I'm very thrilled to offer some very good news to share today and a welcome change in the difficult times for which we've been living through with the finances of this city. Last week, Burlington received a one-step increase in its credit rating from Moody's Investor Services, which is one of the three big credit rating agencies in the United States. Specifically, Moody's upgraded the city of Burlington from an AA3 to an AA2. This is the first rating upgrade for the city of Burlington since 2019. I'm going to let our speakers get more into the particulars of what this means financially for Burlington, but I really want to underscore that this rating upgrade is a very big deal for our city. It signals the strong financial health of our city and reflects the confidence in our long-term financial stability. Crucially, these credit upgrades lead to lower borrowing costs and hence savings for taxpayers here in our city, and it attracts more business investments and economic development. Moody's credit opinion highlighted our city's dedication to developing a structurally balanced budget in recent fiscal years. As you all recall, when I first became mayor in 2024, I immediately faced a challenge, a $14.2 million challenge, which was our first budget gap we faced in this administration. We worked hard to deliver a balanced budget that year that maintained core city services and prioritized community safety, affordability for residents, and the sustainability of city operations. The following year, we created, again, a balanced budget that closed yet another structural budget gap of this time $9.8 million. This budget centered affordability again by reducing overall property taxes for most residents in the city while also making strategic investments in community safety and housing. I'm proud of the hard-earned results of that budgeting process, but I also always need to take a moment to acknowledge and recognize that our budget challenges required very difficult decisions, including cuts to some of our programs for residents, but also some staff layoffs. This is a process the city had not undertaken in recent history, and I really want to acknowledge the stress and the pain of the recent rifts and the impacts on the individuals and the departments that held those rifts. The process itself was not perfect. We've learned a lot, and it has highlighted to me the importance of good fiscal stewardship of public dollars. Affordability has been a key priority during my mayorship, and I remain committed to prioritizing equitable budgeting practices and policy changes to ensure that a diverse community like Burlington can live and thrive. I'm really encouraged by Moody's recognition of my administration's commitment to fiscal responsibility, and it's especially uplifting to see the city's hard work to accomplish it rewarded in this way. An important aspect of the budget process under my mayorship has been moving away from the over-reliance on one-time funds for ongoing needs. This has begun to shift the city in the right direction to address its financial challenges. But chronic structural issues within our city's budget cannot be solved in just one budget cycle or even a few budget cycles. It takes many years and a multi-year effort with deeper work on our charter and deeper education of our council colleagues and of voters so that we can all work together to find solutions. To this end, my administration continues to work diligently on addressing a structural budget gap that has placed a strain on the municipal taxpayers year after year. This is being done in coordination with our Modern Gov initiative, which is a multi-year effort to make our municipal government more effective and sustainable. This initiative is moving forward through thoughtful engagement with city staff, our unions, and the city council to collectively create a roadmap for better, more responsive, and more sustainable governance in the years to come. Another key piece of working together towards greater affordability for Burlingtonians is to do a deeper dive in how we can make the city's municipal tax policy a fairer system. In late 2024, I convened the Tax Fairness Working Group, which consists of financial experts, policy specialists, city councilors, community representatives, and city staff to explore how to make our tax system more equitable for all taxpayers, more affordable for low and moderately income people in our city, and more sustainable vis-a-vis the city's revenue-generating system. The working group presented a report to the council on October 6th of this year with recommendations on these topics, as well as some further insights into how the city could simplify our splinter taxes. We have many of them, as the former mayor will know. We have, I think 18 total, and they are a lot to manage. And we also had a conversation around what state tax policy changes might be worth pursuing with our legislative colleagues. My administration is actively exploring two specific recommendations from this working group. One is a universal exemption for the first $30,000 up to $50,000 of property value on a homestead property in the city. This would begin to address inequities in the municipal tax burden on residents and rebalance how we raise revenue from primary residents compared to other types of properties in the city. The second recommendation we'll be exploring is adding an inflator to our general rate tax rate in order to standardize one of the city's tax rates to create more predictability and consistency in our tax system. This is something that would be key to addressing some of the structural budget gaps that we continue to see. My administration is being responsive to requests for more analysis on both of these items that we've heard so far, especially how to mitigate the impacts on renters in our city and balancing the needs of residents and our businesses. You'll be hearing more from my administration about this in coming weeks as we engage in extensive community engagement and education on all of these issues. I'm now going to turn it over to our CAO, Chief Administrative Officer, Catherine Schad, and our Director of Public Works, Chapin Spencer. Their leadership has been key to Moody's upgrades, and we're here to celebrate and acknowledge today. And before I hand it over to them, I also want to acknowledge Karen Paul, our former city councilor and city council president, was hoping to give remarks here today, but had a family emergency that prevented her from attending. She shared that she was really thrilled with the news of the Moody credit upgrade, and those who served with her, which I did when I was back as a city councilor. She was a big steward of fiscal responsibility and did a lot of really important work as a councilor and council president for the city's finances. But she acknowledged that this is really she considers so much of what is vital in Burlington to realizing the hopes and the dreams of the city is tied to how we do our finances as a city. So she looks forward to being able to celebrate in other ways this Moody's rating, because that's the kind of stuff she celebrates, and is sorry to miss it here today. But for now, I'm going to pass it over to our CAO.
Thank you so much, Mayor. It is rare for the CAO to be able to stand up and celebrate good news. Usually I'm up here talking to you about the budget. But this is the culmination of a lot of hard work and sacrifice. Moody said it best, and you'll see they said a lot of things in their press release. But they said, and I quote, "Over the past few fiscal years, the city has shown responsiveness to operating pressures by increasing taxes and making expenditure cuts when needed to balance operations. Responsibly increasing taxes and making reasonable cuts to expenditures requires a lot of courage and discipline from city leaders and staff, especially elected leaders. So I really want to take a moment to acknowledge Mayor Emma Mulvaney-Stanek for her guidance and all of the help that she's provided to get us here. Also, City Council President Ben Travers. These upgrades are literally years in the making. So this comes on the heels of many, many months and fiscal years of hard work. So I would be remiss if I didn't also thank former City Council President Karen Paul and former Mayor Moreau Weinberger. There's also lots of staff behind the scenes who are doing the unglamorous work of putting together the presentations and managing the money. And I just want to name two of those people: Director of Finance Brad Kuchenberger and Assistant Director of Finance Darlene Bako. And before I end my quick remarks and hand things over to Chapin, I think it is important to take a moment. Why should we all care about this upgrade? What is in it for the public? What is important is the higher the city's credit rating, the lower the interest rates the city is paying. How this came about is just through a normal review from Moody's. But that happened in advance of $19 million that the city is getting ready to borrow on behalf of the school district. The school district and city, we share a credit rating, and they're ready to take $19 million. This is in large part part of the $165 million bond for the high school. All of that $19 million is going to the high school. The city is also getting ready to borrow $7 million of the $20 million that was approved by voters for capital expenses just this past town meeting day. That's a pretty good chunk of money. And now that we have this improved credit rating, we will be borrowing that at a lower rate. And as the mayor said, everyone's municipal property tax rate is comprised of 18 different splinter rates. One of those is called debt service, and it is actually 17% of the overall municipal tax rate. And so anything we can do to ratchet that down for taxpayers improves affordability. So that's really what we're here to celebrate, is that move towards affordability. Also, it is a third-party indication of strong fiscal management in the city. It's nice for us to be able to get that validation on top of the actual better interest rate. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chapin Spencer, Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate that. This is an exciting day, and I really appreciate being invited here today. It is an impressive achievement here for the city as a whole, but also for the Water Resources Division of the Department of Public Works. We oversee the Drinking Water Enterprise Fund for the city. I first want to acknowledge that our ratepayers, our 10,000 customers, are the ones who really fund this important work and keep us on solid financial footing, especially as we've talked about that we embark on this period of reinvestment in our aging infrastructure. Second, I want to thank our talented staff at DPW Public Works, whose deliberate financial stewardship has made this possible. Our water system was first rated by Moody's in 2017 and achieved a AA3 class rating in 2022, so this is the second bump. And this AA2 rating for water, as well as for the general fund, as we discussed, is going to save money for water resources as well. On town meeting day earlier this year, the voters did approve $20 million of borrowing for water resources, separate from the city's general fund. And that will go into improving our reservoir on the hill and our our distribution system, getting the potable water to people's homes and businesses. That borrowing is going to now be cheaper and more affordable for water resources and our ratepayers. More importantly, and even in excess of that, is that this will help also drive additional development capacity and housing development in the city, because we will have the infrastructure to serve that new vitality. In closing, I just want to say that these successes really, any big success in the city does not rely or rest with one department or one person. And the mayor's leadership, the Department of Finance Administration, has been key. I also want to recognize the council and the DPW Commission, who have been there for us to support these investments. And as people know, there was a historic request of investment in our wastewater and water systems last March. We're doing this together. This is an important success for us to mark. Really appreciate being here today. Thank you.
And so that, we're going to open up for questions. Is that okay, Milo? Oh, okay. Up here for solidarity. I love it. Okay. So we have a few minutes.
I just wanted to ask about the $7 million in capital projects. What specifically would those capital projects be?
Sure. Sure. I serve on the Capital Committee. We have a multi-departmental group, and that we put together our annual capital budget. The budget funds paving and sidewalks. It funds rehabilitation to parks and our city buildings, which our friends at Central Facilities maintain. So we pull in a variety of funding sources. There are splinter taxes like the street capital tax. There's other penny for parks taxes. What we need then to supplement to pull the whole budget together, we borrow annually. So the $7 million covers that range of activities I just described.
And we can provide a specific list for at least this fiscal year. The Capital Committee makes determinations for each fiscal year of what gets prioritized, and it's a whole long criteria vetting process of what is literally falling apart the most that needs the attention for the city. So we're happy to share that in great detail afterward. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And also, I wanted to ask about how this might be able to relate to the governor's 14-point plan for the city of Burlington. I know that there was a couple details about events in the city. Is there any way that, with this new credit rating, that could help to achieve the 14-point plan?
Well, this credit rating is more of a much bigger picture piece around the city's finances and sort of bigger long-term strategies around economic development and housing and things that Chapin was mentioning around what we can finally start to bring online with the strategic infrastructure investments that we've been building and the bonds that we asked for voters to support last town meeting day. The 14-point plan from the governor is more of a short-term plan in terms of sort of the immediacy, largely led by the state, in terms of filling gaps that we have long named are happening here in Chittenden County and in Burlington specifically. And so it's a little bit of a stretch to make the connections because it's such a short-term focus, but if anything, I think it's a good bridge to start the longer, medium and long-term conversations we still need to have with the state around the sustained work that we need to do, the deeper solutions that we need for the chronic issues facing our city, the trifecta that I talk a lot about in terms of the unprecedented number of unhoused people we have in our city that we're trying to support, folks with untreated mental health issues, as well as substance use. And so those larger conversations are really in part beyond the fiscal reality of what the city can do, but more policy discussions we need to continue to have with the state.
And one last question for you, Mayor. I ran into some climate advocates, some of which are calling for the closure of the McNeil biomass plant. I just wanted to ask for the status of plans, any plans related to that? Is there some sort of closure planned, or we just wanted to know what.
Yep, I'll answer that briefly, and I should have started with my usual response, which is I like to focus on the topics at the podium that are about this press conference, and then I can make myself available for other topics. Very briefly, we're still very much focused on a just transition for McNeil. Now, it takes time to put those strategies in place around how do we meet our climate goals while still making sure that ratepayers who pay the electric bills have a reliable grid and reliable energy sources that are not forcing us on the larger grid where we don't control the sources of energy. That includes nuclear power and coal and things that are much dirtier, that are very much not values aligned with the residents of Burlington. So that is diligent work that we've been doing. I've been doing with the director of BED. We've started to bring things online, engagement with the council around more scrubbers. These are not technical terms, which is why we can talk about this later. On the stack, so the emissions are as clean as they can be, making sure that we turn on McNeil only when we need it. So we're being very diligent about that when there's high use of energy needed, as well as battery storage. So how do we innovate around the actual physical plant itself of other more sustainable energy sources as we continue to build a long-term solution on what a just transition ultimately can be based on all the realities we're also living in, the changes in the federal government, the loss of funding from federal sources, things that are making that reality hard to do anyway, even under the best of conditions. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions around Moody's or finances? All right. Well, thank you all very much. It's nice to have a good news conference, press conference reason to talk. So thanks all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good morning.